Herbert Dennard Show.
Good day and welcome to the Herbert Dennard Show. We have as our special guest today two young ladies, Sister Teresa from Daybreak.
Yes.
And Rhonda Stubbs. She's a case manager working with Daybreak.
Yes.
Number one, what is Daybreak?
Okay, Daybreak is a resource center here in Macon, Georgia, for our brothers and sisters who are homeless or on the edge of homeless, where they can come and receive the basic necessities of life. It was really started by several women from different churches coming together and saying, how can we respond to the needs of our brothers and sisters? And they connected with DePaul USA and started this center where first thing in the morning they arrive and they can get breakfast, they can get a clean shower, clean clothes by doing their laundry, breakfast. They can have a room to sit and either be warm in the winter or not too hot in the summer. And then they also have access to our computers and telephones, a medical clinic, and our wonderful case managers. Yes. So it really is to support them through the day, but also not only to give them fish, but to say, okay, how can we help you make the steps so that you too can fish?
Homeless people, so there's a lot of them in Macon. They're everywhere. You see them on the street corners, you see them everywhere. Homeless people that has no place to go. So they can come by Daybreak, that's located where?
On 174 Walnut. So if you know where Central City Park is, we're right across, right past Martin Luther King. So we're right where it's easy access for them to get to.
Okay. Case manager, Rhonda Stubbs. Tell us, case manager, what is it that you do?
As a case manager, what I do is I help our participant who comes into Daybreak to find resources for housing. We also help them to find resources for employment. For instance, One Stop Agency, which is located in the Department of Labor, we will help them to create a resume. Once that resume is created, we will also do like interviewing with them. Once they have that skill down pat, then we will refer them over there where they will have an opportunity to get a job.
We see people on the river, we see people in vacant houses, we see people in any place where they could just lay there and put a blanket over them or to get in out of the weather. Why, in your opinion, do we have so many homeless people in this area?
Yeah, there's about 300 on any given night. About 130 or so of those are in shelters, like the Salvation Army or transitional housing, and then another half of them are really literally outside braving the elements. They can be due to multiple causes. Sometimes if you are in a low wage position and you lose your job, that's it. If you have a health issue, or your child or spouse has a health issue where you're losing work and the bills are raising, many people end up losing their houses. We have one gentleman who wants so much to work. He just has a lower IQ. If I look at him, he looks just like you and me. And he even wants to, we try to get our participants to volunteer with us because they start getting job skills. And even on some of our simple volunteer tasks, he wants to do it, but without someone supervising. So there are people in our society that don't have the IQ. There's also mental health is a huge cross. We have one man who's an amazing musician that actually plays at some churches. And when he's on his medicine, he's amazing. but because of finance or because of other reasons, if you go off the medicine, you can just see them circle the drain. So the other thing is domestic violence. You know, it's hard to be a one-income person, or you have to get away from a domestic violence. Many people who are victims of domestic violence end up. We have veterans. About 25% of the population of homelessness can be vets who are facing the challenges of coming back, or trauma, post-traumatic stress. And not only vets have post-traumatic stress. Any of us have been in a violent situation. Those stresses can really keep you from keeping long-term employment. So it's multifaceted.
So tell me what, I'm switching. What does the case manager do at Daybreak? They fill out, help them fill out employment opportunities, help them do...
We do. We help them to fill out their job application. And as a case manager also, we're the ones there to listen to them. Some of them, they come in there, they're so broken. We had one young lady, as a matter of fact, she was living in her tent. She came in there, she's so broken because of life. We're there to help counsel her, to lead her to professional counseling. Once she went through the stages that we had set up for her as a case manager, she ended up with a wonderful opportunity to work for a company. She's there now. She's loving it. She's also found housing for herself. She's one of our success stories. And as a case manager, we're there to let them know, yes, you're going through this situation now. This is where you are now, but this is not a place you have to be forever.
Daybreak, you also have clinics in there that I think they test a person's blood pressure and they give them other medical help. Tell us a little about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's wintertime now, right? I'm just getting over cold. How many times do you go to the medicine cabinet in your bathroom to get cough drops, to get Tylenol, to just get Benadryl, maybe a laxative? So sometimes you don't realize when you're homeless some of the basic things you don't have. A Band-Aid. So it's those basic things, but it's also, if you think about, we all have a loved one that's come out of a hospital and you're like, oh, they're not ready to be out, they need all this care. Well, if you're coming out of the hospital like that and you're sleeping on the street or in a tent, so we provide services, like for example, some of our people can't manage all their medicines and get it into the medicine box. So Sister Judy, she gets their medicines, and every week they come in and she gives them their medicine tray for the week, which helps to maintain them on their medicine. Another person is insulin diabetic, and insulin isn't stable outside in the heat. So we keep the insulin. He comes in every morning, checks his blood sugar, does his insulin, and he's fine and stable. If he wasn't, he'd be in our emergency room all the time.
Let me do something that you and I never went over this path before.
Okay.
Tell us something about Sister Teresa. Where did she come from?
Sister Teresa.
Yeah.
Be careful.
I'm not
No,
saying
yeah.
Mother Teresa.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know. There's
Sister
one Mother
Teresa.
Teresa. So Sister Teresa, I was born in Chicago, and I was born the 8th of 12 children. And my family, one of the things my parents always told us is that each of you are made to make a difference in the world. And I knew that I could do that because I had the neighborhood, I had the church, I had my school, I had my family that all supported me in doing that. And so, yeah, I had a lot of bumps and different things, but I did it. And then in high school, sorry, I went down into the inner city, and I started realizing in the inner city of Chicago that there are people who didn't have a family. We were reaching out in a nursing home that had people who had drug addictions, alcohol addictions, and they had been abandoned by their families. And as I was reaching out to them, I realized, one, that I had a gift of being able to look at you and say, Rhonda, you're amazing. Yes, you may have had these struggles. Yes, things may have been happening to you. God loves you. And I also realized that their energy and their desire to be God's people energized me. And so I really felt that God was calling me. Sorry. Can we cut this back? Let me get.
Great.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I got this cough. Okay. So as I was reaching out to these people in Chicago, there was a connection I felt. And I felt God saying, Teresa, you have been given so much. Can you share my love with those who haven't experienced it? And you know what? How do you know that God loves you if you've been cut off from every angle by family and friends? And so then I became a daughter charity and have been a daughter charity for 37 years, serving the poor wherever I've been sent.
Amazing. Briefly, tell us about you.
Well, my name is Rhonda Stubbs. I am here from Macon. My passion has always been to help people, especially the vulnerable population. I'm a proud graduate of Mercy University, and my bachelor's was in human services with a focus in mental health. When I saw this opportunity with Daybreak, it was just amazing that I was just so drawn to that. And once I went and interviewed for the position, and Sister Teresa was telling me about the position, I knew I could make a difference in the participant lives. And this is where God wanted me to be, and it's been a very great journey.
I know you guys are doing a lot of unnamed people are at Daybreak on Walnut Street, helping a lot of homeless people bathe. They have a place they can bathe, giving them something to eat, and pushing them in the right direction and helping them medically and however else you could help them. What I want to know, you have a big event coming up, a big sleep out on February the 22nd. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, if you go to MaconSleepout.com, you can learn all about it. But really, our whole budget is fundraised. The churches in Macon provide a portion of it, but this sleep out provides a major portion of it. And somebody said, why do you have it in February? We have it in February because it's not just a sense of fundraising, but it's a sense of how can you be in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are homeless. And so basically people register to be a sleeper, and then they raise money. You know, you can ask your Facebook friends, you can email your friends. If everybody gives you $2, it starts adding up. And Friday night, we'll gather at Daybreak. We'll have a little soup, a simple meal, because that's what our people have. And learn a little bit about the plight. Hear from some of us what the homeless is. And you will set up your tent or your sleeping bag right behind Daybreak, and you will spend the night outside. And in the morning, we do it. Go ahead.
Suppose it's about 10 degrees.
Well, if it's about 10 degrees, our homeless brothers and sisters will be outside. But I'm praying it'll be a warm night, let me tell you. And then someone say, well, why
I
are you
will be
having
there.
it? You will. I'll have it on a Thursday night. Why don't you do it on a weekend? Well, you know, those that sleep out in the tents, they have jobs. Some of them have jobs, but not enough to pay for housing. And they have to come, get to Daybreak, get a shower, get breakfast, and get to work looking like nothing has ever happened to them. And so that's why we invite people to come in solidarity.
I talked to the mayor of Macon, the city of Macon once, and he said he experienced it once, and he said he don't want to go back. He said it's cold out there, and I've been out in the cold before, but I'm going to do it.
I'm looking forward. All right.
And hopefully it'll all work out for all of us. And hopefully I can get my friends to help me raise some money to help Daybreak. They do an absolutely marvelous job of helping those that are least among us, people that don't have a place to go. For whatever reason they are there, Daybreak does not ask them questions, does not condemn them. Just you help feed them, you help where they could shower and clean up, where they could get some checkups medically, and sometimes you have clothes that they could have, and they could brush their teeth. They could do so many things there that it's giving back to the community. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing. You got a lot of volunteers, and I'd just like to say that if you can't give, volunteer, help out.
Yeah,
You
we
wanna
have people
add to
that come
that?
down every week. It's great, you know, because you are walking with them, talking with them. But we have volunteers we need every single day, Monday through Friday, 7:30 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon.
And give us the address again.
174 Walnut Street. 174 Walnut Street. Please come by. Drop off some coffee for us. Come volunteer for us. And February 22nd, we are going to have a grand time sleeping out. And it's going to be warm.
I hope so. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much. And thanks for all your support of Daybreak. You have just been wonderful.
Not enough, but I do what I can. But we'll be right back. Good day and welcome to the Herbert Dennard Show. We have with us today my very, very good friend, Pastor Lisa Watson. Welcome.
Nice to be here with you, man. Thank you for having me.
How is the business of serving the Lord?
Oh, my, that's a big business. My father's business is going well, going well.
You are the co-pastor of what church?
Evangelical Liberty Christian Church, we call it ELCC.
And who's the other co-pastor?
Dr. Mary H. Butler.
Y'all got a team.
Got a team. Been doing it together now for 10 years officially. We actually been working together for 20 years. I'm getting ready to celebrate my 20th anniversary. She just celebrated her 25th. And she's been on that corner 25 years, and I've been going there with her for about 20. But we officially merged the churches together 10 years ago.
Okay, well, that's good. You have something big coming up. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, Dr. Butler and I are program coordinators for the Evangelical Ministers Alliance, known to mostly everybody in Macon as EMA. And we always have the annual citywide Martin Luther King March for the past 30 plus years. And Dr. Butler and I have been program coordinator for probably the past 10 years. And we even under your former pastor, the late Richard Gamage, we were his assistants, and he was the program coordinator. So we've been doing it a long time now. And this year we'll pretty much have the same layout program where we'll march citywide from the 4 points spelling news. From the north, we'll still come from Booker T. Washington. Even though the center is closed, it will still be the gathering spot for that north side march. From the east, we'll still come from Rosa Jackson. From the west, we'll come from Frank Johnson, Old Unionville Gym, we call it. And from the south, we'll come from Memorial Gym. And we'll leave, all the marches will start at 11. All marches start at the same time. We converge on City Hall at the same time at 12 noon. And at City Hall, the mayor will greet us, and we'll have a prayer by one of our ministers. Then we'll go up to Stewart Chapel, historic Stewart Chapel, where we have the annual Memorial Church celebration on Dr. King's Day, MLK Day.
Okay,
So
that's on the Martin Luther King holiday on that Monday.
January 15th. But the night before, we always have what we call Living the Dream in Worship. That'll be on January 14th. And this year on January 14th, we'll start at 6 o'clock, and it'll be at Green's Tabernacle. Clifford Little will host us this year. He's a member of the EMA. He will host us this year, and he will also be the keynote speaker for the Living the Dream in Worship. That's January 14th, the Sunday night before we march that Monday. And then on January the 1st, we have our official first service kicking off the events for Dr. King celebration, and that will be the Emancipation Proclamation service that we have every year on January the 1st at 12 noon. It'll be held this year at your home church, New Pleasant Grove.
Oh.
And our new incoming president will be one of the ministers of the Grove, Minister Jackie Lamar Epps. She'll be installed on that day officially as the
She
new
will be the president
of the EMA. And we'll have our first service of the year at New Pleasant Grove, and Minister Laura Clark will be the keynote speaker there. And we've asked Deacon Dennard, Herbert Dennard, I believe you know him, to read read that official Emancipation Proclamation strip that day. So we're looking forward to all of our events that kick off the Martin Luther King Day, and then the great culmination of it at City Hall and Stewart Chapel.
You guys got a lot of things going.
It's always busy for us. December, January, always very busy.
You said something that really got my attention, and I never heard of it, so if I'm wrong, correct me.
Okay.
Did you say the Booker T. Washington Center was closed?
It is. It's closed. As far as
When it closed?
it's been closed a minute. I thought they're going to reopen it, working on reopening it, but as I can tell from now, it is closed.
Why?
I don't even know all the specifics behind why it was closed, but I do believe it was having some problems that they were trying to work out.
I know they had financial problems at the time.
I heard that. I heard that been some financial issues as well. But you know, the highway is doing a lot of work there behind them on the interstate as well, Department of Transportation. So I think that had something to do with some of it too.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I didn't know it was closed.
Yeah, I think it is closed.
It's been closed at least about a year or 6 months?
It's been closed a good while. I mean, I haven't seen any activity there at all. But we still, last year we met there even though it wasn't really open. I think last year during the march it wasn't really open, but we were able to meet there.
Has that been in the paper?
I think it had been in the news, the struggles of the Booker T. Washington. But that's a historic spot. I really do hope it does open back up.
I do too.
So much greatness came out of there.
Right, and
Out of the work of that center, really.
And
In that community.
you know, I was at the Emancipation Proclamation service several years ago,
Okay.
and I was there, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Pastor Lisa Watson spoke.
Oh yes, I have had the privilege of speaking for the EMA at the annual citywide Martin Luther King Day event twice, and I am the youngest member of the EMA, and I am the youngest ever president of the EMA, and one of the only 2 female presidents. It's a 49-year-old organization, and so I've been blessed in the EMA.
And after you spoke, I was leaving the meeting. I thought it was at Stewart Chapel, but I don't remember exactly where it was.
I spoke at Stewart Chapel
I
twice.
think it was Stewart Chapel. I was leaving that meeting, and I was talking to the late Lonzie Edwards.
Oh yeah, I loved him.
He said,
Great.
"You know that Lisa Watson can preach."
He was such
He
an
told me
encourager.
that, he said, it's a lot of men don't preach as well as she.
Well, he's often said that to me personally.
He told me that.
Yes, he was a great friend, a great mentor to me. When I worked in the office of the late Senator Robert Brown, he would often come in his official capacity, because you know he was on the commissioners, and he always encouraged me, and he always encouraged me in the things of the ministry, let me know materials to get that could help me too, and things like that. So I'll just always love him. He was a great man, great encourager.
I spoke at his services.
The unity services that he began to have.
No, not the unity. I spoke at his memorial
At his,
service after he had passed.
oh yes, okay.
And when I spoke at his service, David Stanley spoke also.
Okay.
David Stanley said something, and I still remember what he said at Lonzie Edwards' service. He said, when a preacher doesn't preach well, he said he always try to, I'm talking about Stanley, Reverend Stanley, he said he always try to say, go ahead, you preacher doing good, talking to him.
Yeah.
He
Try
said
to-
when Lonzy was there
You didn't have to
and
do
the
that.
preacher was speaking well, Lonzy wouldn't say nothing. he said he might look up in the air, he might look around, he might do some other thing, but he said, and afterwards he told somebody, if the person doing bad, you don't need to be telling them, give
they're
them
doing
any
well.
indication they're
Don't give
doing
them-
well. So
Oh.
I say that to say, my dear friend, Dr. Edwards, he was honest.
Yes, he was very
If
much
you
so.
couldn't preach,
He'd help you. He'd help you to get the tools.
He
you
didn't
need.
help you change gears. He didn't help you do
Yeah,
nothing.
he would tell you you need to get the tools. Yeah,
Right,
but he was a great encourager in doing. He'd tell you the truth in love.
What strikes me more than anything else,
Uh,
he heard Lisa Watson
Oh,
speak
One of my
at one of
proudest.
those programs.
Yeah, some of
And
my proudest
he told
moments.
me, that
Yeah.
young lady could preach.
Yeah, some of my proudest moments was when I had the privilege of preaching with him on the front row. I can just see it now, him, Daddy Henry Ficklin. Those are some of my proudest moments. My own Pastor Walter Glover. Those have been some of my proudest preaching moments. And when you're done and they say you've done well for God, for the cause of Christ, it just blesses you.
So I say this, if you have not heard Lisa Watson preach, you need to check her out. She
God bless you.
spread the gospel with clarity
God bless you.
and with power.
Well, some of my greatest preaching experiences are on YouTube when I preached at your home church, New Pleasant Grove. Some of my greatest preaching experiences, they're out there on
Pastor
YouTube.
Gammett used to give you and Dr. Butler.
I have so many clips from the Grove where he preached me his church anniversaries, his pastor's anniversary, his Christian education anniversaries. He gave me many opportunities, great exposure.
Appreciate you stopping by. Again, January the 1st,
Kicks it all off. Annual Martin Luther King events. Then January 14th, we'll be at Green's Tabernacle. January 15th, we'll march from all 4 points as we do each year at 11 o'clock to City Hall, then Stewart Chapel for the church celebration, 12:30.
appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be right back. Good day and welcome to the Herbert Dennard Show. We have with us, is it Lattimore?
No, Y-O, capital Y dash capital O.
Y-O-Lattimore.
Yes, Y-O.
Okay, wow. So what did I call you?
You can call me Y-O, or you can call me what my mother named me, Yolanda,
Okay, Yolanda.
or what they write on the checks, Yolanda Lattimore.
Yolanda Lattimore. We'll just call you that. And I won't get the other part. I'll have you break it down.
Okay.
You've been in Macon, how long?
I'm a native of Macon. I was born and raised in Macon, and
Went to school here?
yes, attended quite a few elementary schools, but Central and Northeast High, and graduated from Northeast. Attended some college, lived away from home, from Macon, for about 8 years, and then moved back in 2000, where I just started doing like on-air radio things as hobby. I'm a poet, and
The spoken word.
yes.
Okay,
Spoken-
I've heard you at a number of places.
Okay.
And I met you again when you were working for Mike Roberts at the radio station.
Yes.
And you worked for Clear Channel also.
I was an intern at Clear Channel before Mr. Roberts, before working with Mr. Roberts.
Okay. The subject I'm getting, wait a minute, before I go there, tell me, now you are doing what?
I have an advertising agency called Like Water Publicity, where I do advertising, like place media buys or contract out to take care of marketing and public relations for some businesses, and also booking. So like booking artists, entertainers, speakers, booking travel. So advertising and booking company is what it is.
How do you get into that?
Well, it kind of segued from my passion of just being on air, me being a poet and very expressive. That kind of like had people who were radio personalities engage me and have me on their shows, and that's how I end up interning for Clear Channel, which is known as iHeartMedia right now, and then eventually working for Mr. Roberts, and eventually Well, after Mr. Roberts, working for Chris Murray and Macon Urban Radio Alliance, and branching out, starting my own ad agency and running it for about a decade now.
Okay, well, you have you're some kind of entrepreneur, I would say.
Yes, it's hard, and you know, of all people, you know, it's you have to make your worth every day, and you have to try to, you know, at least. It's kind of hard to avoid being a jack of all trades because sometimes you have to shift to those other things to make things, you know, work. So when it's down times for my agency, as a poet and a writer, I get paid and I receive grants for literary movements. And then I like to do group travels, which is an affordable way for people to travel. Like layaway plan for travel. So
Layaway plan, that sounds like a winner.
yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of us, including me, can't afford to just drop a couple $1,000s on the trip at one time. And but we still want to enjoy life, and it's really rewarding, you know.
For the people that might want to do business with you, what is your phone number?
478-719-2054.
Okay. Today we're talking also about sexual harassment. There are a lot of people coming forth right now, a lot of women, and saying that a lot of men have sexually harassed them. Some people are famous, and it goes across racial lines. It's not all rich people. It's not all, you know, just a lot of people are involved in it. And you worked in kind of an entertainment area, radio and everything else. Have you ever experienced it?
Oh yeah, the media industry is very male dominated, and you know, I don't think this is done on purpose. I think people just kind of, you know, it's some behaviors and habits that they just let get out of whack and out of control.
You think that a lot of them don't know any better?
They know better. It's just that, you know, if you can just think about it, when you play the lottery, you know your probability of hitting. So it's the same thing with that. You know, they figure, you know, I've had it happen on several occasions, and it would just be me wanting to, you know, maybe achieve some type of goal or maybe apply for some type of position, and then it's out of left field. You get these propositions, and you just have to just say, I don't want it that bad, or I can get it, but I can just take another avenue. And you have to let them know, unless it's something you want to do, you know, but that hasn't been my choice.
So a guy, you're looking for a job, you apply, or you are hired by a person. What do they say?
Well, say, for instance, just say
Be as real as you can.
you're an intern
Okay.
at a radio station. And of course, you know, that's the most sensational, popular part of radio broadcasts is, you know, the on-air, under programming. And then you don't really have your own show. You're an intern. You're just hanging around there, allowing you to learn the trade. And, you know, you say, well, hey, I want my own radio show. And then you're like, okay, if you want your own radio show, well, meet me over my house, you know, tomorrow night, we'll talk about it. And, you know, things like that. You know, like you're just a fool, or either, you know, maybe in a lot of situations, they get a response like, okay, what time, you know? But it just depends on the woman, and it depends on, you know, what the both of them want. So
you think it's pretty rampant in this area?
I do, just being a woman, and as many as times as I've been exposed to sexual harassment, I know others experience it. I know, you know, just like you said, across racial lines. It's just something where people, they get this feeling, and then they just move forward with it. And I'm not saying it's right, but it is common.
How do you handle it most of the time, like you just said?
I'm pretty stern, I'm nice, but then I can turn into like a monster in defense of myself. And I'm very expressive, so I kind of turn it and flip it with my poetry, and I try to find a creative way, you know, to create dialogue about, to spark dialogue about it. So you know, without all of the anger. You know, I might get a little sassy with it, but now, you know, as time passes, you can talk about it and you can be a little more comfortable. And, you know, one of my concerns is that, you know, I know a lot of women experience this from childhood to adulthood, even with family members, not just on the workplace. And it's something that if people know that it happens to other people, it doesn't make it better, but it may help them cope with the situation or learn how to cope with it and speak to someone who can, you know, be an outlet for them to deal with it. It's just, you know, that's what we have to figure out with everything in life. You know, we're constantly, it's like survival of the fittest, for real, like we're taught in school.
Do some of the men actually touch you or try to kiss you or try to?
That has been the case in the past, not so much with this workplace stuff, but, you know, in the past as a child with people that your parents may trust to, like, keep or watch or babysit you, or somebody who's around those people, and, you know, being fondled or touched. And, you know, there's been an instance where I can understand why a parent would say, no, you're not spending the night with other people, you know, because things do happen. And, you know, it's an instance where I begged my mom, and we're like, man, my brother, we want to, you know, spend the night. And we did. And, you know, it was just a situation where I was touched, and I woke up, I woke my brother up, woke his daughter up, and we sat up until the next day until my parents came and picked us up, you know, and it's just like.
You were sleeping and some guy?
Mm-hmm. Trusted guy, somebody the family trusted, though, you know. And
I think a lot of those people are the people that do it.
yeah, they are.
I wonder how their mind think.
I don't know, but you have to, you know, it makes a fighter out of you. You get strong if you have to defend yourself in those ways. There's so many other factors, you know, that we encounter in life, but you just have to find some type of defense mechanism. And, you know, if it's never had to get to physical for me, but I mean, just put my foot down and, or either sometimes running for my life, because, you know, if a person tries you like that, and from a woman's point of view, and you're in an isolated area, you know, where you're trusting them. Just say, for instance, you're working on some project, and I'm out here with you. You know, we're in the studio, you know, and I trust you, but you come off on some kind of way, you know, that's not kosher, and you know, I might have to, I trusted you, so I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know if you'll try to take me, so I have to figure out a creative way to just get out of it.
You're thinking some of the guys might try to rape you?
You never know. If they try you, you never know. So you're in a situation where you have to really think, like, your adrenaline's pumping, and you may have to just, you know, you never know. You have to think. You know, because if they got you in that situation and you're isolated and you trusted them, they might try to hurt you, so you have to be prepared to hurt them or just kind of escape, like in both, and or.
You know, I was reading, I think I was just telling you a minute ago about John Conyers. He was a congressman, a man I've always looked up to a certain degree, and I told you about Rosa Parks, the lady, the mother of the civil rights movement. She lost her job as a result of being in that bus boycott in Montgomery. And after the bus boycott, she lost her job, her husband lost his job, so they both moved to Detroit. John Conyers, when he found out they was in Detroit in that job situation, he hired her as a congressional aide. And she worked there for more than 20 years. And he's always voted right on racial issues and social issues, and he was a person that stood up for things. Then I read that he is settled out of court or settled in the congressional records of being a sexual harasser. He denies it all, but he paid out the money. The money was paid out. It gives me another light of him, but I just hate to just put all the good things that he has done. But he's wrong on this, and there's no doubt about it, he's wrong.
Well, you have to, I mean, you have to put your judgment aside. You can't knock people for the right that they do, but all of us do some type of wrong. It's just that we have to find a balance. You can't do too much wrong and think that it's not going to overshadow everything that you've done. You know, you have to find a control and discipline with all types of things. It's not just drugs or overeating or things like that. It's sexual behavior. It's the way we treat people. Just, you know, like folks treat people less than a person. How can you possibly do that? Who gives us the authority to do that? And we have to learn and condition ourselves because society teaches us, and there is like classism, racism, and all of those things. So we have to find a breakaway, you know.
Do you think women, if they are sexually harassed, they should report it?
I think they should. And sometimes you try to say, well, I don't want to ruffle feathers, or sometimes you don't know the proper way, or that you're due some type of, money for being inconvenienced like that, or therapy, or both, and you just don't know. Because at the time when I was younger, I didn't know. I just like, okay, I'm going to let it fly by. But guess what happened? At one particular situation, where I was sexually harassed, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna give him benefit of doubt. Not really a benefit of doubt, but I'm okay. I'm just gonna. I want to do this radio thing, and I don't want anything to. I'm just gonna move forward. But then it was one day when he stepped all out of line, and crossed the line and said something that just was all like, it was sexual. And I was like, okay, now you're going too far. You've already pushed the limit, and now you're going too far. So then I just left the situation. I just walked away, and it really opened a lot more doors.
You left the job.
Yes.
But you shouldn't be, I wouldn't want my daughter to go through this, and you shouldn't be put in a situation like that.
That's true, Mr. Dennard, but it happens. And then when you reach out to people who you think are going to do something, and they know that it could really cause damage, and they kind of just shun you, know that you may not know any better, or say, well, maybe she won't do anything. And you reach out to those people to, help you, and then they say, well, there's nothing, you don't have anything, there's nothing you could do. So without the knowledge and with those kind of responses, then you kind of move on. And things work out, because sometimes when folks, they have these ill-mannered actions, they really bless you because those weren't your intentions.
So the philosophy, I guess, for every door closed, another one is open.
Yeah, if that's what you determine to do, and that's what you have, you've learned skills, you're talented enough, I think you should pursue. You shouldn't allow those type of situations to stop you, because they may not, they keep coming. I could sit here, and I know your show is limited, but there's even an instance where there's your elder, and you trust in him, and he's like kind of baiting you and saying, yeah, I know you're into your ad agency, and I'm kind of in the media business too, and I want to show you some things in my website, but we end up at your house. Why do you have to show me your website at your house? And then you have to just tell them straight up, man, that's not what, I don't want that from you, and those are sticky situations. But and I've heard that a lot of men tell me that women have chased them, have, around the room, have, made them feel like uncomfortable too, and sexually harassed them. So it's not just a thing that women go through.
But most of the time, it's men, somebody in a dominant position,
Right.
Sexually harass somebody that you need them to open a door.
Right.
I'm not doubting some women do it, but most of the time the person in that dominant position, he's over somebody, and I hate to think it, but it seems like men do a lot more to women than women do to men.
And then you think of how society is mostly male-dominated, especially with the elite and the most rich and the successful and, certain positions. So it just all comes with it. Not to make it right, but once you figure out a way to deal with it. And I think one thing that made me mention it on social media was the fact that a lot of other women, nationally are going through it. These accusations back to back to back, and I'm like, hey, well, this is something that's norm. And hey, I feel comfortable enough time has passed, to where I've even said, okay, man, I forgive you. And I mean, if they step to me and approach me and say, you know, I was wrong, even if they don't go into details, or even if they don't even say that, and they say, well, you been doing okay, and you know, my life has been pretty messed up, and I mean, in their way, they're telling you, I apologize. So you, as a human, you go ahead and accept it because they didn't hold you back. You know, they
Right.
took you through some changes, but they didn't hold you back.
You know, that kind of reminds me of running I had with my father. And we got in an argument, really not an argument. I was still in the Marines and I was home, and I had a different view on some things than he had, and he put me out of his house while I was home on leave.
This is your brother?
My father.
Your father, okay.
And so I went to live with my brother. And before I left, going back in the Marines, he came over to my brother's house and just told me that we was always welcome at his house, and that you know, so when you come back, come see me and come visit with me, come stay with me. And then he left, and I asked my older brother, I said, what was that all about? He said, he was apologizing to you. I said, well, why didn't he just say, I'm sorry? He said, that'll never happen. So you're saying that the guys come to you, this is a completely different subject, and they kind of apologize, but they really don't apologize.
Or sometimes it's been a couple that just, you know, directly apologize, and then there's been some that beat around the bush and just make it known that, okay, you know, regardless of what I did, it didn't stop you, you know, and...
But they shouldn't do it in the first
Right.
place.
You shouldn't do it in the first place. You're absolutely right.
Right. And I think this is a teaching moment for a lot of us here.
It is.
And if you're on a job especially, you shouldn't try to get somebody to do something just because you have that position.
That's right. I mean, it's like, I can't imagine what people are thinking.
And what I'm thinking too is George Bush, the old guy, he's in a wheelchair, former president. One of the ladies said she was taking a picture with him. And while he was taking the picture, and his wife was on one end, he reached over and grabbed her by the behind.
Did you mean to?
He meant to. And so when it happened, the lady came out and she said what had happened. And he immediately said he was sorry. He apologized. Sometimes his hand slipped. She said, but it wasn't a slip. But he said, I apologize. However you want to take, I'm sorry. You know, and people need to learn from these experiences. And
there's so many things. Like me, I'm not, you know, I've been fortunate enough to be around celebrities and people who have a lot of money and or a lot of influence. Not even a lot of money, but just say, for instance, okay, when I say not a lot of money, just say, I remember meeting some Nubians who, like, this one, I can't remember his name. Oh my, he was a phenomenal poet, but he had about 4 or 5 women, you know, and
that's the way they roll.
But it was an influence, and then they I mean, you can tell them women anything. They all played their role, and this is the power people have over folks. And so I've been around some celebrities. It's like whatever goes, because they have groupies. They're walking around butt naked. You know, it's all kinds of things involved that they could get away with.
You been around somebody when they walking around butt naked?
Yeah, I've been around that, and you like, I mean, it's like, that's what they choose to do, you know, but we've been to parties. I've been to parties where, you know, in strip clubs and different things like that, all kind of, or private parties and affairs where there are escorts and all those type, you know, that type of function going on. So people have influence over others, whether it's monetary or power or making them feel like they're a belonging, whatever it may be. So those type of things go on. Yeah.
Appreciate you stopping by.
Okay, and thank you for having me.
And I got to have you back.
Okay, I'll be back. It's an honor.
Thank you, and we'll be right back.
We'll, come on, know all about it. Come on. Farther along, we will understand why. Cheer up, my brother. Cheer up, my brother. Live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by see you there, fellas. We will know all about it. Farther along, farther up. Just give yourself a little time. You're going to understand why. So cheer up, my brother. Live in the sunshine. We'll understand. All by and by. I love this verse. Come on. Tempted and tried, we're often made to wonder. Anybody been there? Why it should be thus all the day long, while there are others and they're living all about us. They are never molested, though they seem to be in the wrong. Well, now, but Father, if you're black or white or red or yellow, we'll know all about it. Father alone, Father, we will understand. Cheer up. You better live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Bought with the price. Jesus has changed my whole life. If anybody asks you just who I am, want you to tell me I am redeemed. Where there was hate, love now abides. Where there was confusion, peace now reigns. I'm walking with Jesus. I'm a child of the King, and it's all because I'm redeemed. I'll tell of His favor. I'll tell of His love. I'll tell it because God has been good to me. He purchased my redemption with His precious blood, and from sin He set me free. day. If somebody walks in this room, you ought to be able to tell not that you're free and you're righteous and you're free. And you've never been the same. I want you to tell
to wonder why it should be us all the day long when there are others living about us, never molested, though in the wrong. Father alone know all about it. Father alone will understand why. All right. Cheer up, my brother, living the sunshine will understand it all by and by. Father